So the 49ers were 3.5-point favorites over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers yesterday. And, missed that one. So that was a swing and a miss on that. And that game was over, and it was over fast. And Tampa Bay does not look like a very good football team. And the 49ers.
Hold on. Let's just have the conversation.
Okay.
Is it over for Tom?
I mean, on the football field?
Yeah.
Or because there's also another conversation.
We can get into that next. But I think we start on the football field, then work to how that translates off the field.
Is it him or is it the offense? Because you've said it on this show a couple of times. He can still make the throws. Like, he can still make, but
he was making
not all the time.
Throws.
Yeah.
Not all the time. Like, the fourth down that he kind of threw in the back of the Mike Evans' ankles early in the game, I'm watching that going, eesh. Like, I know he was frustrated the play before because he thought Godwin got held, and he did. But, I mean, you can't be begging so bad for calls that you then just, throw in the towel on the next play or allow it to impact that next play. And obviously he knows better than anyone else that, but I think that's where he's getting in his career. It feels like watching them, they are desperate for offensive production, for points, for things to go their way. Like they and maybe you could say at different points in time in his career, he has been lucky. The ball's bounced his way or he's gotten the call. There's Raiders fans who would say that, obviously, with the Tuck rule and how that's all changed. If that same play had happened in today's game, Tom Brady's not going to a Super Bowl. So I kind of look at it and I go, I know people have wanted to call it and when it's time and all that. This feels like it looks like it is. And I know there weren't a ton of suitors for Tom Brady when he left New England. I'm not sure if people realize that. This wasn't Peyton Manning and everyone, basically trying to advertise or market to get Peyton to come to their place. Coming off a neck injury, mind you. This is a 45-year-old Tom Brady who in a year's time looks a lot different. Now, he's a good decision maker. He obviously is still distributing the football, but him and Mike Evans aren't on the same page. And look, maybe it is partially the offense. Maybe you put him with someone who's, I don't know, more creative or had more success. From what I've heard, they were hoping maybe Byron Leftwich got a head coaching job, and then he was going to be able to, have more control over things as far as play calling goes. He hasn't been overly impressed with that. So maybe that's part of it. There's some frustration there. But whatever the case is, he does not – I mean, it looks like it's finally catching up to him. It really does. Father Time is finally catching up.
It looks like Mike Evans isn't a party to it either. Like, it looked like it was just irritating him. Whatever the disconnect was, it just seemed like the body language, the energy, exchange just seemed to be kind of off. Like the timing of everything seemed to be off. Things that you would have expected them to be able to pull off together. Speaking of Mike and Tom, it just wasn't there. And it looked as though, Tom has the tendency, and you make book on it. If he feels there's a guy he trusts, he's staying with him. Like, if something doesn't go right, if it doesn't feel right, he's staying with one guy. And it was interesting that he went to Godwin and was trying to stay with Godwin in the game. Like, that was, we're going to win or lose depending on what Godwin is able to do. I mean, he went to Mike a few times, but they just don't seem to be on the same page. And you don't have a running attack. Your running game isn't really working. Your defense was playing hard, but I don't know, man. They look like an average team, and that's with Tom Brady.
Man. They look bad.
They look below average. Well, ask yourself this: they've got an identical record to the Detroit Lions,
and could have lost very easily last week and had a worse record.
Who's a better team? Yeah, the Lions by far are a better football team than the Bucs
offense.
Right now.
I'll at least say that better offense.
They're going in the right direction. I'll tell you that. That was a big win for them.
Can I ask you this? Do they have, and I know it's early on with Jameson Williams, but he immediately in his second game comes in, makes an impact. You see the speed, big playability. They might have the top, top 5 group of 4 wide receivers. When you think about Amon-Ra St. Brown, how he's kind of been that stable piece, DJ Chark, the moments he's had.
Reynolds.
Now it's, say Josh Reynolds, but now it's Jameson Williams too. Like all 4 of those guys, people in Detroit need to start looking at that front office and looking at what Dan Campbell's done and the coaching staff, developing, helping to build this roster. They deserve a lot of credit. And I know people are going to probably hammer us for talking about a team that's still got a losing record. They are so dramatically improved from what they've been. You have to acknowledge it.
Yeah, and you acknowledge it because that's the point. They've got the same record as Tampa Bay, and they feel like completely different franchises, just heading in completely different directions.
Well, because there's completely different expectations, too. Like, you don't have an expectation for Detroit like you do for Tampa. We're expecting Tampa to snap out of it. Like, when are you going to snap out of it? Well, what if they're not going to snap out of it?
By the way, at this point in the season, you are what you are, right?
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah. I mean, it's, week 14, and they're just kind of up and down and up and down. And I don't know who's going to get them in the first round, assuming they still win the NFC South, which would be my assumption. They're going to win the NFC South, but who the hell knows with Carolina and the way they're playing recently. But whoever gets them in the first round, and it looks like it's probably going to be Dallas at this point. I mean, I don't think Tampa has a chance.
It's a great draw
game
for Dallas.
It is.
Great draw. Only problem is.
Here we go.
I don't trust their offense. And Tampa Bay.
Dallas's?
Yeah. And Tampa Bay could easily sneak up on them and make it a horrible day for them.
I mean, I'll give you that. Tom Brady in the playoffs just makes you go, oh, he's obviously got a shot. It's Tom Brady, right?
It's Tom Brady.
Not this team, man. No. I'm sorry. Like, I just – and I feel bad because defensively they're starting to wear down a bit, right?
They are a little bit.
There were some plays in that game, like Jamel Dean, I have no idea why he's biting on a double move. And he just allows Brock Purdy to lob one up. And we should talk Brock Purdy for a second.
Yeah, let's go. Let's get Purdy.
Yeah, he did what they asked him to do, but let's not read into this too much. People are acting like he threw for 400 yards. Yeah, like he didn't. He put the team on his back. It's just. I'm not sure if the broadcast was just trying to sell the game, or it's such a good story because he was Mr. Irrelevant, and the story with his parents. His parents haven't been to many games this year, but they were coming to this one because they wanted to see Tom Brady. It just so happens Brock Purdy's getting his first start. I mean, look, he was efficient. He did what he was asked to do. But it helps when you have Christian McCaffrey run for almost 120 yards on 14 carries. I mean, think about that. Literally, the dude's ripping off runs for almost 6 yards an attempt. I mean, it helps when you've got that in your backfield. So I just kind of look at it and go, all right, like between their ground game and the way things had kind of opened up for them. I'm not trying to take anything away. I just pump the brakes on it. Right?
Kyle Shanahan, his head coach.
I just think he's like the Kansas City of the NFC. His play calling, his ability to use his guys in different manners. Like, everybody's like, oh, this is the most versatile group of – well, that's because Kyle Shanahan uses them in versatile positions. I mean, he's putting Kittle in the backfield. He's lining – McCaffrey out on the edge. Like you got Samuel over here. He's in the wing slot position. Like, you don't really have the ability to create. I mean, you would really have to try to create book on them to know what their tendencies are based upon where guys are aligned. And I think it would be a nightmare as a defensive coordinator and as a defense to prepare for the 49ers. And listen, they lose Debo yesterday. Hopefully he gets well soon. But
it's being reported as a high ankle sprain. Or that's
that looked like one of the worst high ankle sprains I've ever seen.
It looked like it was a double high ankle sprain, and then not to mention, like you said on the message, and he grabbed his knee. Yeah. And we thought when Von Miller went down, it's like, oh, that's high ankle. Like, that looks like ankle or like an Achilles situation. Turns out his knee was. So until they check him
Jonas,
out.
Did you see his knee fell off? I thought that's what you said.
But I thought they put it on pretty quickly, so nobody caught that on the broadcast.
Oh, they put his knee back.
Actually just popped back off and just threw it on. You know, it's amazing, the technology here. So, hey, LaVar, speaking of what we were talking about yesterday, you said that there could be a couple of players who maybe need to.
Saw that?
Yeah, and they maybe need to start, getting some boxes together.
You heard what Q said. It's like, let's pump our brakes, let's slow down a little bit, this, that, and the other. But there's always a reason why the media gets behind certain stories.
Ooh.
There's always an origin.
Who's in trouble in San Francisco?
They're all in trouble.
Ooh.
If Brock Purdy keeps playing the way that he's playing, it's a wrap.
For who?
For all of them.
Who? Trey Lance and Jimmy G?
Gone. What year would this be for Trey coming up? 4? 3?
Yeah.
3, yeah.
That might be the only thing saving him, is that they don't have to if Brock continues to play the way that he's playing.
Well, let me just say this. Think about in the past who Kyle Shanahan has won games with, or like Matt Schaub, Pro Bowl quarterback, RG3, Rookie of the Year. Offensive Rookie of the Year, at least his rookie year.
Yeah.
He's won games with Nick Mullins. Remember the hype around Nick Mullins?
Yeah.
Like, Nick Mullins was traded for this season because of what Kyle Shanahan has done with him, where now people look at him as a viable backup option. C.J. Beathard, same thing. Like, he is, LaVar, to your point, I still to this day never feel like Kyle Shanahan gets the due and the credit for the offensive mind that he is. I think in the league and league circles, anytime people start talking about hot seat, whatever else, other coaches go, you're crazy. He'll get a job in a second. Like, he will literally be putting the first thing in his box to go if the 49ers ever move on from him. And he'll already have 5 text messages saying, are you coming? Are you coming? Do you want this job? Already will be done. That's how well respected he is as an offensive mind and the things that he does. It's not just the talent they have. And I think it's in part because their defense is so talented, it kind of gets overshadowed. Meanwhile, they've had all these injuries at the quarterback position. But I look at his offensive prowess and the way he goes about calling plays and designing plays, and you go, yeah, of course, San Francisco's going to have a shot at getting in the playoffs and making a run if Brock Purdy just does what Kyle Shanahan, coaches him to do. But here's the truth. That only lasts for so long before a team gets a book out on what Brock Purdy's able to do. Like, he was the last pick of the draft because there's limitations to his game. And guess what a team's eventually going to do? They're going to force him to have to play within those limitations and win games with those limitations. They'll stop the run. They'll be able to score enough points where they'll say, okay, Brock Purdy, go win it. And that's where you kind of get caught up in some of the hype right now. But once you get in the playoffs, once you get to those games where there's 2 or 3 games now of him starting, there's a book out on him, you start to see the true colors reveal themselves.
Yeah. But I think Shanahan is what I saw him do with RG3 that rookie season, and I was there covering it like day to day, what he was able to do to take those limitations that he had was phenomenal. I would say.
Do you feel like he had limitations?
Hell yeah.
Huh.
Hell yeah. He's a one-read dude. RG3 was a one-read dude.
Maybe that'll be included in his book.
I'm going to read. Look, I'm going to read this. This is my read. Nope, not there. Out of here. I'm out of here. Like, literally, I'm running. He's running. And once people figured out that, all right, we're going to follow his head. Anyway, not getting too deep off in RG3. I just think the point is with Shanahan, if he can maintain the balance, and that's a tremendous loss losing Deebo Samuel. I mean, it really is. But if he can keep that offensive front healthy, especially mainly Trent Williams, like you were talking about McCaffrey getting 6 yards and 4 yards and big yards. You know why? Because Big Trent was out there clearing S out. I mean, there were certain runs where he didn't even get touched until he was 6-7 yards down the field. So if Shanahan can keep a healthy balance between that run game and keep that pressure from having to be what Purdy's his limitations are, I feel like they're still sitting pretty, man, because their defense is flying around. they've always been known to be a pretty physical team up front. I mean, they bring it like a new age Denver Broncos, a Mike Shanahan Denver Broncos team. Like, you see the personality, the disposition, like the way, the air of confidence that they move with. They're dangerous, man. Philly proved to me yesterday they're the most dangerous team in the NFC and could be the most dangerous team in the league. They proved that. Like, I'm not going to make them a qualifier anymore. They're the most dangerous team on the NFC.
Who is it after that then in your mind?
I think the 49ers are the second most dangerous team.
Dallas is nowhere in your mind.
I think that they have to be looked at as that next group. That next group. I really do. I think they're that, because I'm going to tell you, Washington is dangerous. New York, I'm not on. I'm off that boat. I'm off of that train. But
both New Yorks?
Both New Yorks. I'm off that train. Like, I'm not riding that subway. But I still feel as though Washington could be that next team that's like they're taking a step forward. It's possible. But if I'm saying right now, today, who's that third team that's dangerous, that could be dangerous, I'm going to give it to Dallas, because I've never wavered on their defense. That's all. I've never